What's up, guys? So today I'm going to show you how to install the Valenti taillights. This is going to be my installation guide to help you guys out and figure out how the wiring goes and how everything's going to plug in, because it doesn't necessarily plug and play like a lot of the other headlights out there. Taillights, I have them right here. It took about, I'd say 2 to 1 week for shipping. This is how they look. They come in the box. Necessarily, you're gonna get a few of your items here. You're gonna get your fuse taper thing. So this fuse is gonna tap into that accessory fuse box that's gonna sit right around here. Sorry, I have no light. I will light this up in a minute. Want to tap into one of these fuse boxes. I'll explain later on which fuses you're gonna need to tap into. This is gonna be the second item you get. It's gonna be per taillight, so it is gonna be your signal installation kit. Shit, if I can get it right here. So it's gonna be your signal separation unit. You're gonna get 2 of those, and then you're gonna get your splicers. This is gonna be your new taillight. And then once you have all figured out, you'll get a bunch of the instructions. Don't worry, a lot of it's in English. It's not all Japanese. But to go ahead and jumpstart, I'm already halfway through here. I'm gonna give you guys a bit of a tidbits and help you through the process to get you up to speed of where I'm at in this. So essentially what I've done is I've disconnected my battery. So it'll autofocus here. I've disconnected my negative terminal, so this way there's nothing going on in the background while I start this. I've removed my floor mat. I've removed my, here, I'll get it right here. I've removed my fender lanterns. It's gonna be the same thing. So essentially it's gonna be a 10mm for all 3 of these guys. I recommend a wrench for that last one. Make sure it's an auto and has a teeth grinder you can set to it. So you can go ahead and set it there. You're gonna have 2 Torx bits, one here, one here. You're gonna wanna remove, there's a piece right here that sits, and then there's gonna be a giant cover, and it's gonna have 2 more Torx bits, and then it's gonna have a total of, I'd say, 4 just little plastic clips. You're gonna pop those guys up, and once those are off, you're good to go. Now, essentially, after you've done all that, now you're on the part where you start to take the bumper off, and of course, 3 screws on the ends. I have the side guards for them, the mud flaps, so I didn't really need to. I had screws, which is a little bit more trickier, and it's going to be the same on both sides. Essentially, you want to loosen them out, and then you're going to have clips on the bottom, 3 of those guys, and it's just a pulling method for this. You're just pulling towards the back of the car, and then you're just pulling the same amount of measuring, and then you're pretty much ready to go to take off these taillights. So I'm going to go ahead and save you guys the trouble and take off these taillights real quick and give you guys a better explanation. Alright guys, so I got the OEM taillight out. Now I'm going to be focusing on getting the new Valenti one in the car. There's the OEM. And basically we're going to need to use this, and we're also going to be using the signal separation unit. So basically you're going to be splicing a lot of these wires, and don't worry, Valenti made it clear that you're not splicing into the same color if it matches the same color with your OEM harness. No, they're gonna be different colors for whatever reason it is, and then you're gonna splice from the controller to the OEM, and then honestly there's another one too where you're splicing into the 3rd brake light, but that's kind of weird for me. I'll have to check in that later. Okay guys, I'm gonna simplify it down to the bare so you don't have to look at the whole diagram and be like, what the fuck, why is blue green, green red, red yellow? Like it's complicated, but again, you are transferring from a Japanese taillight to a USDM car, so there is going to be that difference. Essentially, what you're gonna have here is coming off of the car, you're gonna have these colored wires, and it's gonna be about, I'd say, you're gonna have this red wire. If I'll focus, you'll have this red wire, this green wire, this white wire, this yellow wire, and yet another yellow wire, and then you'll have another red wire. Now, this red and yellow wire, this is solely gonna be for your animation, your startup and your locking. So there's nothing that's gonna change the way or your settings for this. Solely, it is just for your animation. You can unplug this or leave this plugged. That is gonna be the same for these white wires. So for these white wires, I highly recommend isolating them, leaving them, if I could pull it up here, isolating them, leaving them away, weatherproofing them. They are only to disable your sequentials. So if you don't want the light that goes to the side, you can go ahead and plug these guys in. Again, that's not gonna change anything whatsoever after that fact. So if you're thinking there's gonna be a wiring issue because these guys are not plugged, do not worry. They are not a problem. So essentially, I did fuck up and I was testing wires just to check what this green wire is for. This green wire is just a straight plug-in. There's nothing on the diagram that says what this wire does, and it doesn't appear on the diagram, so I was wondering what would happen if I just cut it. Leave it connected. For whatever reason, it is there. It is not on the diagram though. Essentially, you already know what the black wire is. The black wire is gonna be your ground. You're gonna have one that goes straight into the connector, and then one that just leads off with the rest of the harness. That is gonna be your connection for that one. Next, you're gonna have one of the yellow wires here, if I can see it. Where is that here? So you're gonna have one of these regular wires coming in, connected to the box, and that is gonna be your yellow wire. Your yellow wire is gonna connect to the red wire going into the harness. Your gray wire is gonna connect to the yellow wire coming off of the taillight. So that yellow wire is going to the gray wire. Then you're gonna have that red wire that is not connected with the animation wire. That red wire is gonna connect to the blue wire. All right, if you're still following me here. Essentially, after that, you've connected everything you need to. You're now on to the second stage, which is connecting your wires after the signal box that I've showed previously. That signal box is gonna contain all the wires you're gonna be connecting per taillight. It's not just for one taillight, it's per taillight. Essentially, that yellow that's coming back from the box is gonna be yellow to red. It'll pick it up, yellow to red now. Now that next wire that you haven't seen in a minute, yellow wire, you probably wonder why this one's solely cut, again, because you're converting it to a 3-wire system. The 3-wire system, and that signal box controls it, so it's super easy to connect to it now. So that yellow wire is completely cut off. Now, the yellow wire coming from the box is gonna be connected to that red wire, of course, and then you already have that ground, and then you already have that green. So that is gonna be your wiring guide, simplified for you guys. Super easy, you can go back and double check, make sure everything's connected, but please recheck your connections. If you have something loose like I did, you will not have a successful connection and you will have problems down the way. Now, after you've done all that, for both sides of your wiring guide, you're essentially gonna go ahead and you're gonna find this red wire. It's the longest red wire for both of the systems, and it's gonna come off of the signal box that I've hidden in here. You can either follow it up for the weather stripping through there, or follow it like up here like I did, and then connect through this box, just removing this box, and then going through and then tucking it under. I have the full system tucked under here, as you can see. My red wire is right there. So I've tucked it all the way around. You can follow it all the way up, and then you've eventually gotten to here. So put a little focus here. Oh my God, okay. So essentially, once you've gotten all that connected, you're gonna see that red wire there. Right, so I have working tails, but my brake light is my signal light, and this is the same problem I had. I'll show you in a video right now. This is the exact same problem I've had, and it's annoying, and you're like, how do I fix this? I'm gonna get pulled over. I don't want this to happen. So essentially, what I've done here is the wire you're gonna be looking for. It's not that black, that red one, that big one that you think in the background, like that guy back there. That's not gonna be your wire you're gonna be wanting to tap into. It's gonna be this one, solely this blue connector wire that sits right there. Provide a little light for you guys. That sits right there. It's the first wire facing towards you. You're gonna make that tap, make that connection, and then you're gonna run that wire all the way to the back. I didn't make 2 wires come up there because that's just too much of a mess. So essentially I ran my wire here and made my connection right here. Then, once you guys have had that, you should see something a little like this. Now, a lot of you are gonna ask, what is this wire for? So this is gonna be for your animations, and this is gonna be the only isolated wire that you need to keep away from all the other wires. There's nothing you need to tap in. It's already gonna come with this connector right here, and you're gonna connect it, and then this other side is gonna follow through here. You can also wire it through one of it's small enough to wire through the holes where the headlight connects to the bumper. But essentially you're gonna wire it through here, and you're gonna have these 2 tap-in wires that you're gonna connect through fuse spots, right? So it's gonna be essentially this guy right here is gonna be your first one. It's gonna be right below that 7.5 fuse, and then you're gonna have this one right over here. It's gonna be next to your fuse picker, and it's gonna be the 3rd row, if not the 3rd row right in there that sits right there. And it's gonna be, again, when you're taking this, you're taking that 5 amp fuse that it already comes with that you're plugging into, and you're just applying it in there, and you're putting it in there, and you're good to go. And then once that's in, you go ahead and plug it in the original position that you had it, like so. And then you're good to go. And then you're gonna do the same thing to this guy too. You're gonna take that 5 amp fuse that's already in there, you're gonna plug it into this tap in, and you're gonna do the same thing to that guy. Once that's done, go ahead and just tuck all these cables. You're gonna see a shit ton of them. I did a tuck. I may do a trim and shorten out the cabling. And I've also done and hide all my cables in here too as well. I found it to be very helpful just to keep everything away. Again, I'm gonna go ahead and clean and trim everything later. This is just to show you guys where potentially you could hide all the wires and make it look more cleaner in your hatch here. Once you guys have done all your wiring, you think you have your connections crimped, you have everything soldered and wired up and everything you want to do, you're going to go ahead and you should be left with something looking like this. Now, I've located my wiring right here just because it's more convenient to access it, and I also have to retouch my wires. It just looks a little janky for now, for the time being. But essentially, this is what you should be left with after you've gotten your cabling on all done. So I'll go ahead and start on this side. And I've went ahead and I've done some few zip ties. I've done some zip ties in the back here too, just all the way down to this guy so they can make a full connection for that brake light. And it helps out a lot. As now I'm gonna show you guys exactly how your animation should look and should lock, and how your brake should be looking too as well. I'm gonna give you the full in-depth guide. So this should be your unlock. Okay, and this should be your lock. All right, I'm gonna unlock it real quick just to show you guys the brakes. Of course, I don't have a second person with me, so I'm gonna be using my brake hold right here. Now the brakes are engaged, and you should be seeing that. The only reason that middle light is on is just because it's parking brake, so it should look like that. I did almost forget to mention that you will need to get a coder, or you will need to code out the voltage reading faulty, just due to the fact that you're getting a different voltage for those headlights leading off of the tap third brake light. So without ado, please feel free to reach out for any comments down below, subscribe if you're new, and leave a like. I'll see you guys later.